Here's an AMI This Week shortcut with Beth Deer.
Book of love has music in it. In fact, that's where music comes from.
Heather Hutchison has been blind since birth, but that has not slowed her down at all. At the age of 15, she won a local singing competition, which led to writing and recording 3 albums. But little did she know at the time that her most personal writing was to come many years later.
I started piano lessons when I was about 5, and I was an absolutely terrible student. I didn't stay in lessons for very long. And then kind of when I started to get into my, teen angsty years and started feeling more alone, more separate from my peers, I started writing songs.
Heather, when you first earned the opportunity to actually record your own album, what was that like for you?
I guess my first day in the studio was really, it felt like I'd found my place in the world, like a place that made sense, like I'd come home.
And feeling at home was important to Heather because parts of her childhood didn't always make sense.
I would say I had a pretty typical childhood, riding bikes, slip and slides, all the things that kids did in the 90s. And then through school age, there was, a lot of the typical bullying, they would steal things that I was using. They would steal my cane for, a day at school to see how I'd manage without it.
When did you first start realizing the mental challenges that you were facing?
I guess the beginning of my challenges were I started having panic attacks. And then I just got more and more anxious. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. When I got to the hospital, they weighed me, and I weighed 30 pounds less than what I would have guessed my lowest weight would have been. So I just kind of realized, it's either the hospital or I'm not going to get out of this. There's no in between. It's one or the other.
And one night at the hospital, Heather overheard a patient that was flown in by air ambulance and fighting for their life.
Then I started thinking about my own family, and I started thinking about the person in that bed who was dying, and, would they want to trade their life for mine? And I kind of realized that I was being given a chance, and, I had this choice in this moment. I was either going to live or die, and I chose to live, and I chose to tell my story because I wanted to try and make something good out of what was a really difficult experience.
And so Heather decided to write Holding On by Letting Go, a memoir about her life and insight into her mental health, despite how raw her emotions were.
There's been a lot of times where I've been like, oh, what am I doing? This is so personal. This is so hard. But I just kept imagining this, nameless, faceless stranger picking up the book and it bringing them, peace or just the feeling of that they're not alone and taking away a little bit of that pain for them.
Heather's partner, Jordan Mann, saw firsthand how hard it is emotionally and physically to write down your life story.
So it's been fascinating for me to see the conviction that Heather's had with the idea and the challenge that it takes to translate that onto paper, and to see her go through this step-by-step of what it takes to put out a book.
Jordan, do you believe it was Heather's motivation of wanting to help others and inform them that was the key to writing this book?
From what I understand, that's Heather's biggest goal and mission on this is to be able to inform people, on different parts of that journey. And there's not a lot of information out there. I think that mission behind it of, maybe getting it into people's hands that can benefit from understanding what that might look like, I think is important.
Heather, I do think that a lot of people are going to be affected by what you've written, but have you yourself taken time to reflect on what you've been able to accomplish?
I guess last week, and just holding the finished copy of the book in my hand after spending, the better part of a year and so many hours was just kind of this incredible, I don't know, pride and also kind of relief of wow, you made this promise to yourself that night in the hospital room and you kept it.